Yeah, it's beautiful and the weather is great for the archers.
Yeah, and here's how the teams got to this gold medal match. Fairly comfortable semi-final matches for both Italy and Turkey. Germany took the bronze, beating Belgium a little bit earlier on in the week. And as you can see, we are right in the heart of the city here. That beautiful cathedral, very unusual. Is full of fantastic mix of architecture, but here come the teams. It's compound women's team gold.
Panie i panowie, przywitajmy zawodniczki w pojedynku o złoty medal w łukach losowych zespołu kobiet. Na stanowisku numer 2 reprezentantki Turcji.
So here are the Turkish team, led by the world number 1, Yeşim Bostan, Gezim Elmagatli. Also lining up is Isabera Souza. We took out Germany in the semi-finals. 131 points scored, a big score for the Turkish team, and they will face the Italians.
The Italians, who have respectively shot 1 point more in the semifinals and the quarterfinals than the team of Turkey, so there's no small feat either.
Anastasio, fabulous name there, joined by Irini Francini and Marcello Tonioli. Good team, the Italians, yeah?
Yeah, buckets of experience.
So we wait for the line judge to clear the range, safe for shooting. And Chef, while we look on and we see the Italians will be shooting first on target 1, just explain how compound archery works.
So in the compound division, we're going to see a cumulative score, which means that they will shoot 24 arrows in total and the highest score wins. And they will do this by shooting 3 arrows. The one team will shoot 3 arrows, then the other team will shoot 3 arrows. They do that twice, so there's 6 arrows on the target. And then every time they get the arrows back to do it again until they have 24 arrows on the target. And it's simply highest score wins, so there's no set system here.
We're split into ends, and it's the Italians.
Forse tocca la riga del 10 ore 9.
I was just drifting to the left a little bit, and look, let's not kill each other. This is a 50-metre range. It's a long way down there, and they're hitting something not much bigger than the size of an apple.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, that's an even better first arrow for the Turkish team.
We have to keep in mind that at 5 meters, but the conditions might not be exactly the same. Doesn't seem to bother the Turkish team.
Anchored by the world number 1, Yeşim Bostan. Perfect score from the Turkish team to start. They lay down a marker here in Poland.
Respire, grande Freccia, 10
Again.
piena così.
10 buono.
So even though Italy is doing really well, Turkey still has a chance to rack up some points in the first end. Just out again.
Forse tocca la riga del 10.
So like you say, Chef, this is about a cumulative score, so you can fall behind and recover.
Yeah, you can. Marcello Tonioli is a very experienced shooter. So
Sì, Marci, grande.
he hits an X.
Grande, grande.
Possible 3-point lead for Turkey.
They'll need a maximum for that. They got a maximum in the first 3.
It's a good start to the maximum score. He seems surprised by himself.
Just drifting out into the 9 there. So still a chance for a 2-point lead. The winner of the Antalya Archery World Cup Series event, yes, in Boston, takes to the range.
Another 9, so the gap is closed to 1 point now.
Well, 58-57 up the possible maximum of 60 is pretty good. You hinted earlier on the conditions are looking good for high scores.
Yeah, pretty much perfect. There's a nice flat light. There's pretty much no wind. So, yeah, if it's up to me, we're up for some really high scores.
Yeah, well, it started well. As we just look down to the agents, the members of the Italian and the Turkish teams just checking the scores. Usually for team matches, there hasn't been too much communication here so far. Is that because the conditions are that good?
Yeah, normally you see the teams mostly talk about the wind and the conditions on the field. So if you shoot an arrow and it drifts off, or you shoot a 10 and you haven't aimed the arrow into the 10, you let your teammates know, like, I aimed that arrow in the 9 on the right, so they can adjust their aiming as well. But since there's no wind here, it's just fun and games.
Certainly an impressive start from both teams here. The scores will continue to accumulate as we go into the second end here.
Turkish team is all smiles, so they're still feeling it. Italian team seems a bit more serious.
So Italy will shoot first. The trailing team always goes first in archery.
Appena fuori dal 10 ore a mezzogiorno.
9 buono.
You see the bows the archers are using here. A complicated setup with pulleys.
Yeah, we compound. You can see there's a
high scores. Shoot their second 3 arrows in this second end. The Chef, compound archery. Well, certainly, from my own perspective, slightly easier bow to start the sport with.
You would say so, but there's also a lot more to think about. With a compound bow, you'll probably find that it's really difficult to control all the things you have to control, whereas with a recurve you can just start off with the movement and start making your muscles understand what you're doing. So most people, at least in Europe, I think, start with a recurve, and then if they like archery and they are interested in compound shooting, they switch to compound, or they stay with the recurve because they like it more.
Whilst there are
Al biraz aşağı.
I think there's a lot of archers. The pressure is on Turkey for shooting 2 10s to even tie up the score. And effectively there is no tactics in this sport because you always have to hit the middle. But you can put pressure on the opponent if you're trailing by just keeping the arrows in the middle. Because the pressure on your opponent will grow because they have to shoot 10s to stay ahead.
Well, a 10 was minimum required really for Yeşim Boston Turkey. They trail by a point as we start the final end of this gold medal match, Chef. And the Italians, well, they came from behind, levelled up, and now they've taken the lead. Who's got the pressure on them now? Can Turkey relax because they've just got to shoot their best?
Turkey is going to shoot first because they're trailing. And I think trailing 1 point in a cumulative team match is not a terrible place to be, because you can really put pressure on your opponent, and if you do it well, they might miss, and then so I think the cards are still open.
Well, you can see that deep discussion. They're looking very relaxed, though.
I feel they're getting used to this situation, since they have done quite well, I would say this year, but also the year before. And I think they train together a lot, which also makes the team bonding stronger. So.
Well, just waiting for the range to be cleared. There is that wonderful cathedral, quite spectacular building.
It is, yeah.
So Turkey trailing by 1.
Effectively, this is all they can do. Just shoot 10s and hope that Italy will shoot outside of the 10 ring.
Well, it was right on the line of the 10-9 ring, but in archery they're generous with the scores. That will be marked as a 10.
And another one.
Turcja 10.
So funny enough, the arrow that's on the line of the 10 counts as the same score as if you would hit the absolute middle of the target. Whereas in, I think, for instance, air rifle shooting, you can shoot a 10.8 or a 10.7. In archery, it's all rounded scores, so you have 10, 9, 8, 7, etc.
Sire, magnifica!
Well, that's a pretty decent start to the final end for the Italians. They can afford to drop a single point here in this end and still win the gold medal match here at the European Championships.
I'm sure they just want to shoot tens. They don't want to drop a point.
Włochy 10.
So like you said, they drop 1 point, but they're still 1 point ahead.
3 arrows left for each team here.
Turkey really needs a good score to put the pressure on.
9 sağda.
Turcja 9.
Dokuz. 6 önünde, 3 önünde,
Turcja
10
9.
önünde. Hatta 11 önünde. 3 farklı yere ok attın yani.
She's holding on to this one for a while.
9.
Doesn't make it work.
And she, to be fair to her, Bostan has only dropped 3 points in the whole match.
So if they keep this in the gold, they'll take home the gold medal.
27 points, maximum 30 required for the Italians.
Centralna 10.
Those two arrows were touching, so that close they were together in the X ring. So I would say she did her part in this end.
Whoa, now that one's dropped out. That's the lowest score we've seen from either team in this entire match. And the pressure now is on Tonioli.
She needs a 10 to win this. Oh, she gets a 9.
So 9, so Chef all level, 227 after the 4 ends for both teams. What now?
We start today with the shoot-off. So both teams will shoot 3 arrows. And the highest score wins effectively. But if their scores are the same, the arrow closest to the center will win the match. So
Well,
it's interesting.
they're just checking the scores here. The target judge just confirming with the agents the scores there. 2 stray arrows in the whole match, Chef. One from the Italians in the third end, drifting off into an 8, and one from the Turkish team. Sorry, one from the Italians drifted off into a 7 on that last end, and it was the Turks who drifted off into an 8 in the third end. But other than that, I mean, it's been pretty. You called it high scores.
Yeah, it's not bad. Sure, we're going to see even higher scores, but this is a good start. And now you have to imagine being the Turkish team, shooting 3 9s in the end, thinking, this was probably it, and then still having to go into the shoot-off. They're probably happy about it.
Yeah.
And Italy could have won this easily in the last end, and now they still have to shoot a shoot-off. So there's 2 different mindsets to this shoot-off, I think.
Well, it just goes to show shooting first and laying down a marker can sometimes work out very well. It certainly put the pressure on the Italians, who trailed at the beginning, drew level and took the lead, and they've, in some respects, I suppose, gifted this tiebreaker to the Turkish team.
I think the 5th arrow in the Italians' end was just a little oops. It sometimes happens that your shot doesn't go off at the moment you want it to go off, and I think that's exactly what happened here. And now they're all level, so.
Well, now the Italians will shoot first here. They get to lay down the marker and perhaps switch roles and put the pressure on Turkey.
So in this shoot-off, you'll see that Italy will shoot an arrow, then get off the line, and Turkey will shoot an arrow, and they'll do this until they both have 3 arrows on the target.
European gold at stake.
Very much as good as an arrow can get, especially in the shoot-off, since you can also get a close to center goal.
So pressure on Sousa now.
Still good.
Still a 10.
But virtually, Italy is now ahead because they have a closer to center arrow. So if they both shoot a 30 and one of the teams has an arrow that's closer to the center than the other team, they still win.
Well, that one's drifted up into the 8.
She's not happy about it.
No. Anastasio there.
So if they just keep it together now.
Yes.
A 10. Well, a 10 is the bare minimum that's required here.
She gets. So Yasim has to shoot at least a 9, because if she shoots an 8, they both have 28, but the arrow from Italy is closer to the middle. So a 9 to win.
Well, number 1, Yasim Boston going for European gold.
And it's a 10.
And she's absolutely nailed it. They snuck into a tiebreaker, a shoot-off with the Italians, but Turkey have taken the European gold medal here in Legnica. What a fascinating match there, Chef.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened on those last 2 arrows of Anastasia, but I'm sure she'll look back at the footage and try to learn something from it. That's what I would do, at least. See what went wrong and try to prevent to do it next time.
Yeah.
Well, there they are. The European gold medalists in the women's compound team event. And Turkey will be standing on top of the podium a little bit later on here in Poland. Italy will, well, they'll be pleased with their silver medal after a week of competition here in southwest Poland. But they allowed Turkey to sneak into a tiebreaker, and the Turks took full advantage. So that's match 1 out of the way here in Poland. You can see a couple of drops of rain. Now, the weather predictions were for rain today.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some rain today. And that's also an interesting thing in archery, because you'll notice that your arrows are going to drop a little. And in compound, I don't think it's that much of a difference. But in recurve, if your finger tab gets wet, so the leather of your finger tab, if it gets wet and it swells up a bit, that's really uncomfortable for shooting. So we might see some interesting stuff later today.
In terms of the flights of the arrows, if it starts to rain here in Poland, once the arrow's been released from the bow,
depending on how much it's going to rain, I think if it's just a little bit of rain, if there's just a couple drops, I don't think it's going to matter that much. If it's really going to pour down, you'll definitely have to adjust your sight.
So just aim higher, effectively.
Yeah.
We get some beautiful shots here of both the Turkish and the Italian teams who just contested the women's gold. Turkey taking that title, and here we have confirmation of the results here in Poland. Italy will be on the second step of the podium, and it was Germany who beat Belgium in the bronze medal playoff, who will be joining Turkey and Italy on the podium a little bit later on. But now we switch over to the men's team competition. And Chef, you were saying the conditions on the qualification field were changeable.
Yeah, the qualification field was much more challenging than here in terms of the weather. So the wind was shifting a bit, and it was shifting from left to right, whereas here there's no wind. So
yeah, well, as you can see, the men's compound team event is coming up very shortly now. qualification field is usually a lot bigger, a lot more
Yeah.
open, lots of targets, lots of people.
Yeah.
But like you say, because of the open nature of the field, the wind did play a part. Have we seen, as a result of that, have we seen some strange draws for the final?
Not really, I think. I think the most of the archers are pretty, well, to be expected. Yeah, I actually don't have any surprises on my schedule today.
Well, we see that Croatia picked up the bronze medal here in the men's team event, but it's time for gold, and it'll be Great Britain going up against France for the men's team compound gold. Same format as the women's competition, 3 archers on each team. We're just waiting for the teams to be called out onto the field of play. Here they come.
Panie i panowie, przywitajmy zawodników pojedynku o złoty medal w łukach łyżkowych zespołów męskich.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the music for the compound men's team gold medal match.
Na stanowisku numer 2 reprezentujący Francję.
Well, first out are the French team, Jean-Philippe Bloch and Pierre-Julien Deloche. And then the individual bronze medalist from the Berlin World Cup, Sébastien Pinot.
The reigning world champion, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, a bad lineup for the French then.
Na stanowisku numer 1 reprezentujący Wielką Brytanię.
And the French will face Great Britain. And the Brits line up with Neil Bridgewater, James Mason and Adam Ravenscroft.
Sędzią liniowym tego pojedynku jest
Well, look, Chef, we've seen plenty of the French on the circuit this season.
Yeah.
Not so much of Great Britain.
I don't think so, no. I think Great Britain is a team that can shoot really well, but not always do, unfortunately. But they managed to keep it together here, and they have a strong team, I think. So we'll see what they can manage to do in this gold medal match against a very experienced French team.
Very strong French team. I think the Brits have picked up 1 bronze medal in Antalya earlier on this season at the World Cup in Turkey, where the archers were shooting on a beach, of all things. Here, though, we're in the fairy tale city of Legnica in Poland. Cobblestone streets and all, the French will shoot first. Compound men's team gold medal match.
Ouais, Seb. 10 bas. Allez, PJ.
Francja 10.
Ouais, super PJ. 10 gauche.
Francja 10.
PJ has actually
Allez, Jean-Phi.
taken some time off. Well, not very recently, but a couple of years ago, due to personal circumstances, and it seems like he came back just as strong as he left. So.
Ouais, parfait.
Well, it's a strong start from the French team. Chef predicted high scores, and the French are living up to that at the moment. Let's see what Great Britain can do with their first 3 arrows.
They have been shooting really high scores in the previous rounds. So. There you go.
Yeah, good job.
Wielka Brytania 10.
dead center.
Wielka Brytania, centralne 10.
And that's just out. So even though the group size is probably similar to the one from France, they're trailing by 1 point. But 1 point is not terrible to overcome. So.
Ouais, parfait. X.
Unless France cleans this whole round.
Well, they are shooting remarkably well. Brits only dropping a single point, but up against this strong French team, well, that could be 1 point they will miss out on.
Ouais, bien.
Another 10 there.
Both tens are just in on the left side, so I suspect he's going to adjust his side a little.
Allez, Jean-Phi.
There you go.
On for a perfect score here. Total of 60 possible in each end. Just drifting out, still off to the left.
It was a slightly longer hole as well.
59 punktów do tej pory.
So maybe I'm just stating the obvious, but he must have noticed that himself as well.
Strong British support in the crowd. Working well from Mason, a couple of 10s in the first end for him.
So you can see that he's wearing his jacket, so it's definitely not very warm in here. I'm not too pleased with that shot.
Wielka Brytania 9.
Well, by contrast, Neil Bridgewater there. Short sleeves and shorts.
Yeah. Well, he is British after all. So this might be his summer outfit.
I'll have you know, it was very warm in Great Britain over the last few weeks. Well, Great Britain trailing by a single point to the French team, but very high scores at the conclusion of the first end. Target judge just confirming the scores with the agents from the British and the French team looking on.
I think it's funny to see that there's two recurve archers being the agents for this compound match. So maybe if the rain really picks up, if it really starts raining, Great Britain has a bit of an advantage because they're used to wet weather.
C'est les deux mêmes en fait.
I'm not biting, chef. Not biting. It's interesting though, the conditions here are, as you described it earlier on, the light is flat, but we've seen a couple of the archers wearing what appear to be sunglasses. What's that all about?
Yeah, some archers use sunglasses not only for the harsh light, but also to get some more contrast, so they can see where they're aiming even better. And I'm not sure, I'm not an optometrist or whatever, but I think there are some colors that you can put in your sunglasses to make the contrast even higher, so you can see better the difference between yellow and red, or whatever dot you have in your scope.
Well, the British team trailing here by just that single point. They shoot first in the second end.
Wielka Brytania 10 centralnie.
No, 5.
9, Great Britain.
His first arrow was on the money, and then after that he shot 2 high 9s. So I don't know if he adjusts this side, but he maybe should. Good shot.
Good job.
10, Great Britain.
Wielka Brytania 10.
Allez, Seb, la démarche, pas plus.
29 is not bad, but I'm not sure if it's going to cut it against this French team.
Ouais, X.
Well, with a shot like that,
Allez, PJ.
may well be right down the centre of the target there.
Centralnie 10.
Tickling the spider, as they say in archery. That's the X right in the middle of the target.
Ouais, X.
This is
Pleine balle.
pretty much a showcase of excellence so far. They've dropped 1
Allez,
point.
JP.
Would be really cool if Jean-Philippe puts his arrow next to it.
Just drifting off to
Unfortunately,
the
he
left.
doesn't. Yeah,
9 from
he's going further and further to the left.
9.
But they hold on to that 1 point lead over Great Britain.
But as we've seen in the previous match, 1 point can be overcome in one end.
10 centralnie Wielka Brytania.
Good job. Just winced a little bit at the end of that, but worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
10.
Bridgewater aiming to put the pressure on the French team now by scoring another 10. And that's a good finish to the end for Great Britain. An X,
10.
a 10 and a 10. An X refers to the very centre circle on the target. Still counts as 10 points though.
It does, yeah.
Yes. Parfait. X, bas gauche.
Francja 10.
Ah, le boulot est fait, hein, c'est bien.
So both first archers from both countries have only shot 10 so far.
Allez, PJ. Neuf bas, pas loin. Allez,
It's
Jean-Philippe.
just out.
9 from
Francja 9.
level the
Well,
score.
a 10 required to keep the scores level.
Ouais, Jean-Philippe,
And a
parfait.
10 is what has been shot there.
C'est encore à gauche,
And,
un petit peu.
and well, as you predicted, 1 point can disappear very quickly.
You can, yeah.
Great Britain have tied things up here halfway through the compound men's team gold medal match at the 25th European Championships.
Czekamy na potwierdzenie.
It's pretty much a carbon copy of last match. So I don't want to jinx it, but it might be a shoot-off again in this place.
Yeah, if everything's level at the end of the 4th end, then the teams will effectively play a sort of half end where each archer shoots 1 arrow. We saw that in the women's compound team event a little bit earlier on, where Turkey just pipped Italy at the post in the tiebreaker. And we're all square here halfway through the men's compound team event here in Poland. We get a good close-up of, we were talking about the sight earlier on, Chef.
Yeah.
They're tailor-made, these bows. The foundations are the same, but then
Yeah,
they tailor-made
so
them.
I think pretty much all of the things in their equipment is just production stuff. So it's all stuff that you can also buy as a leisure archer, but the mix of all of it is really personal. So it has to do some with sponsorships, but I think any self-respecting archer will see with which material they shoot the best and then see if they can get something out of it. And first of all, being as many 10s as possible. So you want to have a setup that you can shoot the most points with, and then you can see if you can find some support from the companies that you shoot for.
Our line judge there declaring that the field is clear and safe to shoot. We're at the halfway stage, and
France have an arrow degraded, as it seems.
Yeah.
They're now trailing by 1.
So that 1 point lead they had Well, we thought it had evaporated to leave them level, but on the count back, France have had a arrow degraded by a point.
C'est
a Great Britain
pas loin du
lead.
X à gauche.
And that's why the French are shooting first. The trailing team will always shoot first in archery.
Ouais, super. X en bas. Allez, Jean-Philippe.
10, Francja.
Allez, tu vas à l'essentiel. Hein. Ok, c'est bon. C'est sur le,
Just next to line.
sur le cordon à 2 heures.
We've had it confirmed that it was the 4th arrow in the second end that was downgraded to a 9 for the French.
Just over, and that's the first one he missed in this final. And I'm saying missed, but for a compound archer, shooting a 9 in this situation often feels like a miss.
It's incredible the consistency of the world's top archers. That 10 ring, the outer 10 ring, is no bigger than the size of an apple, and they're hitting it on a consistent basis from 50 meters.
So we get a nice look on the release aid, which is also a thing that compound shooters use and recurve archers don't because they're not allowed to. A compound archer has a device in his hand, his or her hand, where they can press a button or they can have a hinge type of system, which means that they don't have their fingers on the actual string anymore and get an even more consistent shot. Very uncharacteristic.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the British arrows, all 3 were in the 9s and spread around the 9 ring. That one drifting well out into the 8 ring for the French. And perhaps that downgraded arrow has started to play its part in this match.
9 bas droite. Allez, hein.
9,
Francja 9.
Allez, Jean-Philippe.
Well, inside 15 seconds left to shoot here for the French.
I think that's just out.
Allez, en bas à gauche encore.
Francja 9.
So this might be what I was saying before, that the rain is starting to pick up and the GBR is benefiting.
Well, all 9s in the first half. Another 9 to start this one off.
Wielka Brytania 9.
You have to admit they're consistent. There you go. That's a good 10.
10. Great Britain.
10, Wielka Brytania.
Well, a 10 required from Neil Bridgewater here to maintain that 1-point lead. Drifting up into the 9, so we're level again, Chef. The umbrellas are out here. The rain, as you said, was on its way. It certainly started to fall. It's not heavy at the moment, but how will this play its part in the final end here of the compound men's team event?
Well, it's only a slight drizzle, but it seems like it's really annoying in the way that you get really wet from it, and that will play its part in your release slipping in your hand, or your bow grip not feeling comfortable anymore, or your glasses being wet. So it just brings a couple extra challenges to the shooting.
But, you know, all jokes aside here, both teams will be used to shooting in the rain.
You would say so, yeah.
Allez, on se projette pas, on fait du flèche par flèche.
But you can see that the rain jackets are out and the towels are out.
Allez les gars,
So
c'est pour vous ça. Hein.
you still want to be as dry as possible.
Do you want one?
Like I said before, it's just an extra element to the competition.
Get Neil.
But I'm sure they check the weather forecast and they prepared
Neil
for
doesn't
it.
get one.
Ostatniej serii jako pierwsza Strzelać będzie
C'est pas grave, on verra ça après.
po 172.
Well, here we go. The line judge has declared the range safe to shoot, and France will shoot
Allez,
first
mec,
here. 6 arrows from each team to decide the gold medal here in Legnica.
Judging holding a line. So I guess we'll wait a little longer.
We had declared the range safe, so there's an issue down at the target end of the range. And it looks like they're just checking the scores again. Remember, the French were downgraded by a single point in the second end.
Les aléas du direct.
I'm still not completely sure which arrow would have been degraded because
Ladies and gentlemen, we stop
Yeah, there
at
you
this
go.
moment because there seems to be some misunderstanding about the score. We come back as soon as we know.
Well,
the
now
result.
it's switched around
merci.
for the French team. They benefit from a downgrade from the British team.
no, I think the French team has got their point back
And that means in this case that France has
because
1 point
previously
more
the
and
second
the
end
British
said it was a 57, now it says it's 58.
Right, yeah. So
So a slight mistake from the scorers or maybe the judge, but everything should be fine again now, and that just means that GBR is gonna start off this end. And like I said before, they can really put the pressure on now because they're only trailing by 1 point, which is still possible.
yeah, so an unusual set of circumstances here in Legnica. The French had an arrow downgraded in the second end, which put Great Britain in the lead. They've had that point restored. And this all went on behind the scenes. I don't think even the archers knew about it.
I'm not sure.
So the French lead by a single point. Final end 6 arrows. Great Britain trailing by 1.
Good job.
Wielka Brytania
Same
10.
again.
In almost all of his shots, and Jason's shots, or James made his shots, he stepped off the line before the arrow was in the target. So it seems like he trusts his instinct in the moment of release. He just steps off and hopes for the best.
A lot of confidence from Mason. The Bridgewater here also shooting very well, just tickling the X-ring.
Wielka Brytania centralnie 10.
Sebastian's last arrow was an 8, so he
Oui,
wants to
parfait.
recover from it, and he does.
Allez, PJ. Hein.
Francja 10.
Allez, tu vas bien au bout. Hein. C'est pas grave, au moins c'est dans l'action. Ouais, bien.
This
Allez,
experienced
JP.
French team, they have a bit of wiggle room, 2 points.
Elle est presque X à 2 heures.
Potential lead for the French team.
Allez, solide, JP.
And very, very consistent arrows there from the French.
So they capitalize on the point that they were given back, and now lead by 2 points with 3 arrows to go.
Good job, James.
Wow, another great 10 there from James Mason.
Wielka Brytania 10 centralnie.
That's a close one.
Very close. That's probably going to go to a measure.
Pretty much impossible for us to say at this point.
10.
You see that sort of deep breath before he starts shooting.
pretty consistent from Great Britain. The 3 arrows all marked as 10s. I'm wondering whether there might be a measure on that.
Yeah, that second arrow might just be out, so I think there should be an asterisk there.
Well,
another 8.
Drifting out to the left. And,
Good job.
Pretty much the same spot as well. Left low.
The door open for Great Britain. Maximum required from the French here in the last 2 arrows, just to draw level.
En bas à gauche.
It's a 9.
Allez,
So
JP.
now it all depends on the arrow that Adam Ravenscroft shot.
Yeah, it's a 10 required bare minimum for France. That will put them on 230, but we suspect that Great Britain will have their 5th arrow measured.
No, it's definite.
That's a win for Great Britain. A countback is not required because the French, well, they dropped the ball a little bit there in the last 3 arrows, and Great Britain are the European champions.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff there. We saw an interesting one in the women's compound team. I don't think either of us predicted the end of that match there. The French are so experienced,
Yeah.
but gave away a lead.
I think those 2 8s from the French team were unexpected, to say the least, and they really made the difference that GBR needed to get this win.
Well, you joked that the rain would play a part for the British team. It certainly has done, but you have to say, French, with all their experience, gave it away in the end. Great Britain will be crowned the European champions.
Yeah.
He shot so well, as did Neil Bridgewater. Fantastically calm and composed. And as you were saying, Chef, the confidence exuded from James Mason, and he shot first, and I think that bled through the team, didn't it?
Yeah, he was not only of impressive stature, but he is also impressively calm in this match, and he shot really well. And he hit his opponent, apparently, as I just saw on the footage. But I'm sure he didn't do that on purpose.
You can see that the rain was playing its part in the match, and wow, the French will not be happy, but Great Britain will be on top of the podium a little bit later on here in Poland. A fist bump from Neil Bridgewater to James Mason, and those two, along with Adam Ravenscroft, will be picking up gold here in Poland.
GBR had one low end, I would say, from 55 points. For the rest, they've been, yeah, really consistent and really good. I have to say, I'm really impressed by their performance.
Well, here is confirmation. Great Britain will be picking up gold later on today. The French will have to settle for the silver medal, and Croatia will be out there on the podium to pick up the bronze. So that's our 2 team events sorted out. Now it's time for something a little different, Chef. The mixed team event.
Mixed team with my fellow Dutch people, Jody and Mike, against a team of France. So,
well, that's coming up right now, the gold medal match in the compound mixed team. The Dutch taking on the French. And it's another opportunity for Jean-Philippe Bush to come out, and having some experience of a range is pretty handy, isn't it?
especially in this particular range where you don't have a practice field. So the fact that he was able to go out and experience this field is huge, I think, in the coming match.
Well, here we see how the two teams got here. Croatia took out Russia in the bronze medal match. And as you can see, the Netherlands had a fairly comfortable victory over Croatia in the semi-finals.
Yeah, that was a bit of a turbulent match in terms of wind. There was a really strong wind, and the girl from Croatia didn't manage to get one arrow off in the middle, and it missed the target, which just led to the Netherlands having an even more comfortable match. And yeah, so Croatia in all fairness, they did really well to win the bronze after that and to recover mentally, but also physically from such a turbulent match.
Yeah, the Croatians beating a very strong Russian team in that bronze medal match. But now it's time for the gold. Here are the French, Sophie Daudemont, bags of experience. Jean-Philippe Bouche, who has just shot. Now, they'll be disappointed, the French men's team. What kind of psyche is Jean-Philippe going to bring into this match?
I'm hoping that he will be even more motivated now, since he just lost.
Well, big support for the Dutch team, your teammates, Chef.
Yeah. Once again, I'll try to not be too biased, but of course I have my preferences of who's going to win this match.
And there's Jody Vermeulen and Mike Schlusser. Mike got the gold medal in the individual tournament in Berlin earlier on this season. And there's one very loud Dutch spectator, Chef.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she's Dutch or if she's Mexican and living in the Netherlands, but loud is, I think, the best word to describe it.
Yeah, sounds like a South American football commentator. So the French will shoot first here, the gold medal match.
And Jody might have something to settle with Sophie Daudemont, since they shot against each other in Berlin, and Sophie won that match.
Allez, Sophie.
It's a bit of an unusual get-up for Daudemont here. A great start though from the French archer. As you can see, she's wearing her jacket half on, half off.
Yeah, so you don't want your jacket interfering with your shot or being torn apart by your string. So what you can see in her outfit is that you can put one sleeve behind your back, so you have your shooting area free, and then the rest is all covered against the ring. It's not the most comfortable, but shooting in the rain isn't comfortable in the first place.
No. And Jody Vermeulen here to shoot first for the Dutch team. Great first arrow from her as well.
Holandia 10 centralnie.
So with only two archers in the mixed teams, they both shoot 2 arrows
Net
each.
eroverheen, midden eroverheen. 9,9.
Just so.
Holandia 9.
They have an Irish judge, so he should be used to rain as well.
Ok, c'est bon, 10 droite.
That's the wrong target, but it's called as a 10, so we'll just believe the scores. Seems disappointed, but there's no big deal in shooting a 9 here.
Yep, 39 out of a possible 40 for the French team. Maximum required for the Dutch to draw level.
She was not pleased with that shot. I think it went off low, and it is low, but you can see in her shot that she reacted to where her side pin was at the moment of release. Nice calm shot.
Hoge 10.
Mike was definitely just a side. Yeah, there you go.
Holandia 10.
So for spectators new to the sport, what exactly are they doing when they adjust the sight? What is it physically that they do?
The sight is, yeah, of course it's a sight, so the thing you aim with, and there's rails on the sight. And if you turn a knob on your sight, you can adjust where it sits on the reel. So if you're shooting too high arrows, you move your sight up a little bit. So you have to drop your hand a bit to aim in the middle again. So there's the sight. It's a good shot of it. If you move that thing up on the rail,
Yep.
you will hit lower. So you can adjust that to your personal preference and make your arrows hit better.
Well, it's almost like they're listening to you, Chef. They put a nice close-up of the site there for everyone to see.
And I would say Mike, his skill level is so high that if he shoots 2 arrows high in the 10, he will definitely adjust his sight because he wants to hit the absolute middle of the target.
Nicknamed Mr. Perfect.
With good reason.
Net eroverheen.
Just over.
9,7.
Holandia 9.
Trailing by 2 points, the Dutch will need to put a marker down in this second end.
There you go.
Volle X, Mike. Nee, beter dan dat worden ze het niet. Dat klopt.
Holandia 10 centralnie.
I've trained a lot in the past with Mike because he lived at the Olympic Training Center where I also live. And I've seen him break so many arrows by just shooting them against each other in the middle of the target.
X.
And I'm sure if Sophie does this a lot, she breaks a lot of arrows as well.
Francja.
Nee, super.
Well, consistency is the key to this game. The French putting their arrows, well, almost in the same hole.
Yeah, it seems like they're doing a competition of who can shoot it closest to the middle. Then again, that's what this sport is about.
Zit erbij. Zit nog steeds hoog. Stoeft er maar een beetje op.
Jodie is consistent. She's just consistently just out of the 10.
Yeah, just up and to the left for Vermeulen.
Keurig, Mike.
And look at that for consistency from Mr. Perfect. Still a big opportunity for the French team here. On for a maximum. Well, she held on to that one for a long time there, Chef, but still got away with a 10.
Sometimes you have to hold it a little longer if you want to have a controlled shot. It's unclear to me why, but as an archer, I recognize the struggle of. I shoot a 4x40. That's really impressive.
It is impressive indeed. The French get the perfect 40 out of 40 in the second end and now lead by 3. Well, unlike the men's and women's team matches, the French are starting to pull away from the Dutch.
They are, yeah. They've shot 2 arrows outside of the X-ring. One of them being a 9, but the other one was still a 10. So as I was saying before, sometimes as an archer, without a clear reason, you just have to hold it a little bit longer to hold it more steady or something, and to shoot it with more confidence. But it's not always better to hold it longer. So normally if you can get your normal rhythm, that's the best, but sometimes there's just something in your shot that makes you want to hold it a little bit longer.
Well, the Dutch will shoot first here in the third end. Clarity of mind so important in this sport where the margin of error is absolutely tiny. A couple of centimetres at the target face is probably fractions of a millimetre on the shooting line. And what we need here from Jodie Vermeulen is some calm, steady shooting to get the Dutch back into this one.
And again, not a bad shot, but it's just under the 10 ring.
9, Holandia.
He's not happy with it, but it still scores a perfect score.
10, Holandia.
It went off left, and It hit left. Let's see if Sophie can shoot another one of those X's. It's not an X, but I think it touches.
Well, that's possibly going to go to a measure. If it's touching the line, it will be given a higher score, the highest score.
From my vantage point, it looked like a 10, but it's being scored as a 9 asterisk, so...
So we'll definitely have a measure. Well, as that started to affect the concentration of the teammate there. Bush there shooting a very clear 9.
Rechts 9,5.
Yeah, with that shot, you could see the reaction upon release, that she tried to push her bow to the left to get the arrow into the 10, but often you're just a little too late with the correction, so it will just hit where you aimed.
Linkse 10 tegen de
So
lijn aan,
really
Mike.
close, but difficult. It's called a 10, but I'm not super sure about it.
No, that did look a 9 as well. We're definitely going to have a measure there. You can see the asterisks against the first arrow for the French team.
Juste au-dessus.
And that's a clear 9. And she is clearly disappointed.
Well, we haven't seen any 8s, but it's an 8 that's the minimum required for the French to stay level with the Dutch.
Ouais, c'est bon.
And it's a 10 that's scored. We will go to a measure though, and I think that, well, you suspected, Chef, that we might see one of the Dutch arrows measured, but we're certainly going to see a French arrow measured.
Yeah.
Ouais, force pas sur le temps.
I think it might be a 3-point or maybe even a 4-point difference now, depending on the arrow of Mike. You can see that they're really close to the line. And then Sophie's arrow seems to be in from here.
It's right on the line, isn't it?
Yeah. And they didn't need magnifying glasses, so I think it was pretty clear. You can see from this vantage point that it is actually a 10.
Bizarre. Ouais, c'est pas grave.
Well, it was a 3-point lead for the French team, and it stayed as a 3-point lead after the scores.
I think the French arrow is still going to be upgraded.
I don't have confirmation just yet.
Now we do.
And there we go. The 3-point lead turns into a 4-point lead. It doesn't seem like much, but the way that the French have been shooting, other than that last end, well, they've only dropped a point in the first 2 ends.
Yeah, and 2 points in the third end. And that's altogether not enough for the Netherlands to get back. So
well, they'll shoot
all
first.
they can do is just shoot really good shots and hope that the French team will miss in shooting 9s and 8s.
Yeah, it doesn't look likely, so the Dutch will have to put down a marker in this final end, early doors, to put the pressure on the French.
Yeah.
And even then, it's still probably fancy the French to take the gold medal here.
It's going to be very unexpected if the Netherlands still win this.
A good start from Joey Vermeulen, and lots of support from the Dutch contingent in the crowd. And they'll need Mr. Perfect to be on the money as well.
And he is.
10 centralnie, Holandia.
Eagle-eyed calmness personified. Sophie Godemont
Francja 10
Has
centralnie.
completed half of her job.
Dès que ça accompagne. Ouais, Jean-Philippe. Sur le cordon à 10 heures.
It's a good 10.
Francja 10.
Perfect moment to shoot a good 10 as well.
4 points of difference. Favorable front.
Well, nothing to lose now for the Dutch.
No, 4 points and 2 arrows would mean that the French would almost both have to shoot outside of the goal, which is very unlikely. But it would be nice for the Netherlands to close this off with a 40.
Yeah, a perfect score on the cards here for the Dutch.
Goed, Mike.
And look at that, Mr. Perfect, and nailing a 40 out of 40 for the Dutch team.
Perfekcyjne strzelanie.
Can't do any more than that.
Holandii.
And 153 is not a terrible score. It's just that the French are really, really on the money today.
Well, Sophie Dodemont could make it a perfect score for the French as well.
Ça bougeait pas là. Allez, Jean-Philippe.
Francja 10.
She has been absolutely spectacular throughout, just dropping a single point in the whole match.
To be fair to Jean-Philippe, he only
Super, bravo.
missed 2, so he didn't do terrible either.
Well, a perfect score from the Dutch followed by a perfect score from the French. They took control of the match. On a measure, they opened up the lead and they held on to it. The French are the compound mixed team European champions of 2018, and what a spectacular performance they put in.
Yeah. Really, really good shooting. 150, 157 is a good match in any circumstance,
Yeah,
let alone in a final match.
Yeah, out of a possible 160, shooting a 153 is not bad, but when you're up against the French team, who shoot 157, it's not good enough for gold. So the French will be on top of the podium very shortly, in fact. The Dutch, well, they shot well, but Jody Vermeulen and Mike Schlusser will be on the second step of the podium here in Legnica. And like you say, Chef, Sophie Dodemont was absolutely superb, but having come off the back of, well, almost throwing away the gold medal in the men's the men's team compound event, Jean-Philippe Bouche also shot very well.
He did indeed, yeah. He pretty much just followed Sophie and her shooting, and that was enough.
Yeah, and the high fives, hugs and kisses for the French. They will be on top of the podium here in Legnica very shortly. And here is confirmation of the rankings for the compound mixed team. France will be the gold medalist a little bit later on. The Dutch will have to settle for the silver medal, and Croatia handsomely beat Russia in the bronze medal playoff a little bit earlier on in the week.
It seems like if you want to do top 4 in a European Championship, you have to have red, white and blue in your flag.
Good spot. Well, still pretty packed here. They know they're on camera. We are now just waiting for, I believe, the podiums to be set up for the medal ceremonies, which are coming up. And shortly after that, we then move on to the individual medal matches, both bronze and gold medal matches in the men's and women's event coming up a little bit later on in this session. They'll be preparing the athletes right now. The podium is already set up.
They might be still in makeup.
Well, they are going to have their photos taken. You can see that spectacular cathedral is just behind the shooting line here in this quite magnificent city. And of course, the we are now starting to just put one eye on Olympic qualification and Tokyo 2020. Of course, it's the recurve event in archery that takes place at the Olympic Games. Chef, you've had a little bit of experience of Tokyo recently. How was it?
I've been to Tokyo on an orientation trip with a team. And it was nice. Yeah, this is the female part of our team. They seem to be really excited to be on camera.
So you were in Tokyo just a few weeks ago? Yeah,
just to get a bit of a sense of the circumstances. We went to the Olympic Village to see how far they were with the building. So it was nice. It was nice to get a taste.
And what were the conditions like out there? It was pretty warm this time.
Very, very warm. Yeah, it's not per se warm for the temperature itself, but the fact that it's so humid there makes it pretty much impossible to not sweat.
Seems like it's a long way away, Tokyo, but it really isn't. Qualification will begin very soon. Now it's time to crown some new European champions here in Poland. And first up, it's the medal presentation for the compound women's team event.
Medale wręczać będzie prezydent Europejskiej Federacji Łuczniczej.
Medals will be presented by World Archery President Mr. Mariusz Karcela.
Kwiaty wręczać będzie poseł na Sejm Rzeczypospolitej Polskiej.
Flowers will be presented by member of the
There's a bit of
Polish
height difference in
Parliament.
the
Pani
female
Ewa
compound
Szymańska.
discipline.
Medale brązowe reprezentujący Niemcy.
Bronze medal representing Germany.
So the bronze medalists, the Germans. And as you were saying, Chef, a little bit of height discrepancy in there.
Janine Meissner. And Delia Schall.
Well, they didn't have far to travel, but a journey worth making for the Germans. They pick up the bronze in the compound women's team event.
Medal srebrny, reprezentacja Włoch.
Silver medal representing Italy. Anastasia Anastasio.
Interesting gold medal match. The Italians came from behind, they had the lead, but gave it up in the end
Marcella
and lost in a tiebreaker. Seem relatively happy with their week's work, though. A silver medal here in Legnica.
Yeah, they had some time to think about their performance. I think they are a little over it now. The fact that they didn't manage to win the gold.
Well, Anastasio, Francini and Tonioli with the medals and flowers, big smiles, but the European champions of 2018 in the compound women's team event are Turkey. Led there by the world number one on the left, just receiving her medal now, yes, in Boston.
Giezen Elma Arsler. Asje Vera Zusser.
Giezen Elma Gatli and Aysa Bera Souza make up that Turkish team.
Panie I panowie, prosimy o powstanie do hymnu
So the
narodowego
Turks,
Turcji.
pretty good at archery all round, are crowned European champions, and now it's time for the Turkish national anthem.
Panie I panowie, proszę o gorący aplauz dla naszych zawodników.
Ladies and gentlemen, please a warm round of applause for good athletes.
Well, there we have it, confirmation of our medalists here in the compound women's team event at the European Championships. It's Turkey who take gold from Italy and Germany. Well, the umbrellas have just been put away as things dry up a little bit here in Legnica. And, the dry conditions are making the medal ceremonies a little bit more pleasant than they might have been if they were held just 20 minutes ago. And we move straight on to the victory ceremony for the compound men's team event.
Ladies and gentlemen, the victory ceremony for the compound men's team.
Panie I panowie, przed nami ceremonia dekoracji w konkurencji łuków bloczkowych drużyn męskich.
Medals will be presented by World Archery Vice President and Event TD.
Medale wręczać będzie wiceprezydent Europejskiej Federacji Łuczniczej, pan Hakan Çakiroglu.
The president of the European Archery Confederation there.
Presented by Director of the Organizing Committee.
Kwiaty wręczać będzie dyrektor Komitetu Organizacyjnego Mistrzostw Europy w Łucznictwie, pani Małgorzata Szałańska.
And the director of the organising committee here in Poland, and they have done a fabulous
Medal
job.
brązowy, reprezentacja
Archery
Chorwacji.
has been going on in this
Representing Croatia.
little city in the southwest of Poland all week. First up to collect their medals are Croatia. First of two appearances on the podium here on a brisk morning
Ivan Marcus
in Legnica.
and Mario Vavro.
And flowers being handed out to Damagog Budin, Ivan Marquez. And the Croatians will be happy with their performance here in Poland.
Silver medal representing France.
The French may have had to dust themselves off after a bit of a brutal finish to the men's gold medal match.
Jean-Philippe Bush.
They look like they've recovered somewhat to pick up their silver medal. Jean-Philippe Bush,
And Sebastian
Yeah.
Penot.
Julien Deloche and Sebastien Penel form that French team. Very gracious. They had one hand on the gold medal, but gave it up in the end to the team from Great Britain. Adam Ravenscroft, Neil Bridgewater, and James Mason. They snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, the British team. And they're crowned the 2018 European Champions. Brilliant performance from the British team. They kept their nerve throughout a match against a very strong French team. And they're deserving gold medalists. Now it's time for the national anthem of Great Britain. Well, good support for the French and the British teams in the crowd here in Poland, and confirmation that Great Britain are the compound men's team European gold medalists of 2018. The French will have to be happy with silver, and Croatia, well, they collected a well-deserved bronze medal here.
As we get the anthem for the second time.
Well, more chance for them to steal the limelight. Get a good look down the range there. That's how far the athletes are shooting. This is some perspective. And as you can see, it's right in the heart of the city. They've kind of blocked off one pedestrianised area of this city for this fantastic range to be set up. We do see archery in some interesting places around the world.
We do, yeah. And this is a really nice place, even though it might not be world known. But
it's a beautiful little hidden treasure.
Really, really pretty.
Yeah, architecture from dates back to the 12th century. As you can see, this sort of Hans Christian Andersen style fairy tale scene is on one side of this pedestrianised area, and then you've got this amazing Gothic cathedral. Cathedral of the Apostles Peter and Paul, directly behind the shooting line.
Speaking of Hans Christian Andersen, in 2016 the World Cup final was held in Odense in Denmark, which is, I believe, where he was located or whatever. And one of the prizes I got when I became second is the full book of his fairy tales. So it's funny that you mention him in a similar setting.
Yeah, well, it is a beautiful setting, and now it's time for the last of our medal ceremonies here at our mid-session interval. We're going to get some more archery coming up very soon, but it's time for the medals to be presented in the compound mixed team event.
Ladies and gentlemen, the victory ceremony for the compound mixed team.
Panie i panowie, ceremonia dekoracji w konkurencji łuków kloczkowych drużyn mieszanych.
Medals will be presented by World Archery Europe Secretary General.
Medale wręczać będzie sekretarz generalny Europejskiej Federacji Łuczniczej pani Alessandra Colasante.
Flowers will be presented by a member of the Polish Parliament.
Kwiaty wręczać będzie poseł na Sejm Rzeczypospolitej Polskiej pani Elżbieta Stępień. Medal brązowy, reprezentacja Chorwacji.
So I said it was going to be another performance or appearance from the Croatians, and here they are. They picked up the bronze medal in the mixed team event for compound archers, taking out a strong Russian team in the bronze medal match. Very deserving winners of this medal here in Poland. A second medal for Domagoj Buden as well.
Reprezentacja Holandii.
Silver medal representing Netherlands.
Well, Mr. Perfect, Mike Schlusser and Jody Vermeulen, well, they shot really well in the gold medal match, but wasn't quite enough against a very strong French team. So the Dutch, well, they'll be relatively happy with the silver.
I would say so, yeah. Of course, they would have liked to win gold, but going home with some hardware is always good.
Well, the Dutch couldn't quite do it in the end, and that's because of the exceptional shooting from Sophie Dodemont, Jean-Philippe Bulch, the mixed team European champions of 2018 of France.
Sophie Dodemont.
Well, you don't see her smiling on the shooting line, but she's certainly smiling here, Sophie Dodemont.
Yeah, she's good at hiding it.
Very, very calm, very intense in some ways, and quite serious on the line, but you can see that there is a smile behind that shooting face that we see so often in medal matches. And that seriousness took them over the line. You've got to be fair, Jean-Philippe Bulch also shot exceptionally well in the gold medal match, and they are deserving gold medal winners here at the European Championships. Well, there we have it, confirmation of our medalists. France take the gold from Netherlands. Croatia with their second bronze medal here in the compound team events. But they are going to have to clear the podium pretty quickly, and that's because, well, we're going to see Sophie Dodemont again very, very shortly, as we move now to the individual medal matches, both the bronze and the gold in the compound women's event coming up very, very shortly. And Sophie Dodemont, the world number 5, goes up against the Danish archer Tanja Jensen, who's the world number 12. And here are how the athletes got to this stage. Tanja Jensen losing out in a very tough semi-final against Andrea Marcos of Spain at 145 to 143. And Sophie Dodemont, well, an even closer one against the world #1, yes, in Boston in her semi-final. And that brings Jensen and Dodemont together to shoot off for the bronze medal. I'm joined by Chef Van den Berg, the international Dutch archer. Chef, we move into the individual. In some respects, it's almost a completely different sport to the team events.
Almost, yeah. In a way that it all depends on you all of a sudden. So you don't have teammates to fall back on, but it also means that you don't have teammates that might miss on your behalf. So yeah, it's pretty much all you.
And do you find that some athletes will shoot better in one or the other discipline?
Yeah, there's some people that really come to their right in the team competitions, and then there's others that struggle to do the whole switching of the archer on the line, and they're just better at the individual shooting. But I think these two women are just good at both.
Well, here they come. It's the bronze medal playoff here in the women's individual compound. First up, Sophie Dodemont of France, who we just saw in the mixed team gold medal match, picking up the gold medal. And she'll go up against the Danish archer Tanja Jensen.
On target #1, presenting Denmark. Tanja Jensen.
Got a lot of support in the crowd, Tanja Jensen.
Target #2, representing France, Sophie Dodemont.
And Sophie Dodemont, well, she had the high of winning the gold medal, then the celebrations on the podium, and then she's straight back out here for another shot at a medal here in Legnica. And Chef, what do you think in terms of the experience that she's had on this range so far?
Yeah, well, she has shot a match before, and she was really centered. Her side settings are probably perfect at the moment, and Tanja will maybe need a couple arrows to get her grouping in the middle. On the other hand, since there's pretty much no wind today, it might just be that Tanja starts in the middle and just stays in the middle. So it would have been different if it was windy. Then I think Sophie had a bigger advantage than at the moment.
Well, it's Jensen to shoot first here. A bad start.
Tanja with a 9.
9.
9 droite, milieu
Sophie
jaune.
with a 9.
So seeing as she's been here before, she didn't adjust her side, so it must have just been a shot that went off in the 9, or maybe just not as well executed as she would like.
Allez, Sophie.
Tanja with an X10.
Nice stuff
10
from
centralnie
Tanja
dla
Jensen
Tani
on
Jensen.
number 12.
10.
Allez, slight over adjustment.
Sophie
Coy
Jensen.
smile there from Sophie Dodemont.
Sterk på.
3 arrows per end in the individual tournament.
Yep.
But still an accumulative score, 29 out of the possible 30 for Jensen. Not a bad start.
10.
Well, one to the right, one to the left, and then she found the middle.
Yeah, still on the right, but
Sophie Jensen.
Faut que tu aies le temps de poser un peu tes bagages aussi.
she's communicating with her coach about the groups being a bit wide instead of high. But I think she'll manage to do it better next end, because she's
Les deux premières sont bien. Après,
over the first end. The first end is always a bit weird because you want to have a good start to the match, and then sometimes you want to do it too well, which just results in
Nervy shooting.
yeah.
And so much of this sport is about your mental agility and dexterity. The ability to keep your mind clear and focused on hitting the center of a target that's just over a meter wide and 50 meters away.
Well, this target is actually, the full-size target is only 80 centimeters. And they have a target that's only until the 5 ring, so that makes it smaller. But you have to imagine that the 10 ring is only 8 centimeters at 50 meters. So that one is probably 8.5 centimeters from the middle.
Sophie.
Sorry, 4.5.
Lige mod midten. Arbejd med det. Lige over 10.
Tanya.
Sophie.
9.
I like Tanya's mindset. She seems really understanding of what she's doing, and even though the arrows might not hit the 10, she just nods and thinks, okay, I did that myself.
It's almost like she's using that first arrow as a sighter.
Stærk
Almost,
bruger.
yeah.
Arbejd med det. 10, 9. Yep.
It worked well for her in the first end, and it's looking like it's working well for her in the second end. Oh, okay. What a shot there from Sophie Dodemont. Interesting end there for the French athlete.
God tid. 10, 9, 8.
Just dropping low for Jensen. So Sophie Dodemont put one to the right, one to the left, and one in the middle on the first end. The second end, one low, one high, and then the final one in the middle.
So she's done both now, so now she can start shooting the middle.
Yes, it's almost like she's painting a little circle around the X in the middle.
She's surrounding it so it can't run away anymore. Like I said, Tanya's mindset seems really nice in a way that she shoots an arrow and then she just observes. So she shoots and then she sees it's a 9. She stays objective. She's like, okay, it's a 9. I probably did this. Next arrow, I'll do it better. Instead of, damn, it's a 9, or getting upset about it. She's not as emotional. She's just staying very objective. That's always interesting to see.
It's part of that mental dexterity. But we've already talked about Sophie Dodemont and her focus and attention.
Okay.
There we go. She's starting to hit the middle.
God power lige mod midten. Yep, X.
As is Tanya. That's pretty much the same target at the moment. Arrow is exactly in the same spot.
Okay.
10, Sophie.
10, Sophie.
So when you make the target big on the screen, it seems like that was pretty far off the center, as well as this one. But it's only about 2.5 centimeters from the middle, and that's over a distance of 50 meters.
It's incredible.
So what they're showing right now is really, really impressive.
Well, talk about impressive. Sophie Dodemont has found the middle and she's hitting it time and time again. A perfect score for the French archer.
Yep.
As it gets leveled.
And it's a perfect score for Tanya Jensen from Denmark as well. Jensen needed to start well, and she certainly did. But now she's got to keep up that consistency, because Sophie Dodemont, well, she's looking dangerous now.
She is.
Som jeg sagde til Sebastian, da vi gik ned ad trappen før. Ikke fald, ikke fald, ikke fald, ikke fald. Forestil dig ligesom til galler i en lang kjole ned.
So now you can see the targets are reduced to the 5 ring. So you have the 10 till the 5. Normally you have the 4, the 3, the 2, and the 1 as well in the recurve division. But with the compound, they shrunk the targets a bit so that they can put 4 on one bale. And they don't have to, like all 4 archers in the qualification round, don't have to shoot at the same target and just wreck arrows. Because if you put 24 arrows on a surface of about 10 centimeters, you will break arrows. So they changed it to smaller ones so everybody gets their own target.
The shoot over 50 meters as opposed to 70 in the recurve division.
Yeah.
Lige mod midten.
They shoot
Stærk
to a
skud.
much smaller target.
Yep, midt 10 lav. Nej, det er så fint.
10, Tanya.
Tania 10.
I think that's going to be called out.
9, Sophie.
Sophie
So her reactions are a bit
Lige
more
mod midten. Arbejde.
loaded with emotion, I would say.
Hele vejen.
Whereas Tanya
10.
might be emotional after or before the
Midten
match.
i højre. Det er fint. Godt skud.
But she just nods,
Tania
she
9.
recognizes her mistake, and goes on with the next one.
Yeah, completely different mental process.
Sophie 9.
And I think both can be good.
Lige mod
But
midten. Stærk skud.
On average, I think Tanya's
Yep.
approach is
God power.
better, but also
Vi går lidt
more
hurtigt.
difficult to master.
It's an interesting one though, isn't it? Because I mean, well, I think of a phrase to say you wear the hat that fits you.
Yeah.
If Dodemon's not comfortable with the sort of
Stoic.
yeah, exactly. A lot less reaction and emotion from the Danish athlete, but that's what works for her.
Some people can also get energy out of the
Jeg
position
pense que c'était le complément.
they get from a certain shot. So if you get a really good shot and you get really happy about it, you can then shoot the next arrow maybe even better. But it sometimes works the other way as well, where you shoot a bad shot and you get emotional, and then your concentration gets a bit blurred. And then
Works to your detriment.
yeah, your next shot will suffer from that.
Godt. Stærk.
Well, Jensen certainly needed to start well. She's kept up her shooting accuracy with Sophie Dodemont, more experienced French archer, but it's Dodemont that trails, so she'll shoot first here.
Bien.
It starts the fifth end very well.
Sophie 10.
Lige mod midten. God tid. Arbejd med det. Arbejd med det. Yep. Midt 10 lav. Godt.
10, Tanya.
Tania Jensen 10.
Ok, Sophie, parfait.
10, Sophie.
She seems to sped up her shots
Lige mod
here.
midten. Arbejd med det
quick.
hele vejen. Lige mod midten. Arbejd med det. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Yep.
She held on to that one for a long time, Jensen.
Tania 10.
Ok, parfait.
Superb shooting again from Sophie Dodemont.
Lige mod
10
midten.
centralnie.
Tanya needs to hit the goal,
Stille og roligt. Yep, 10.
and that's a
And
10.
she's done it. Absolutely spectacular stuff from Tanya Jensen. She was up against perhaps the more favoured Sophie Dodemont, much more experienced, that's for sure. But Tanya Jensen from Denmark has claimed the bronze medal at the European Championships in the compound women's individual event, and she will be on the podium a little bit later on here in Legnica.
It's quite an uneventful match.
Fandme godt, Tanya.
I think Sophie's group was really good. She just had a couple arrows that were maybe a centimeter out of the 10 ring, and that's enough to score a 9. So
Mamy oficjalne potwierdzenie, panowie. Panie i panowie, brawa dla naszych zawodniczek za wspaniałą walkę.
He talked throughout about her calmness and she's remaining very objective and looking at each of her arrows and just reacting to it. She actually shot fantastically well, and we thought that Dodemont, with the experience of having shot in the mixed team event, would come out and be the favourite, and she certainly didn't shoot badly.
no, exactly. You can see here that her arrows are not far off. It's just that the group is in the middle, but the group was just slightly too big to get a perfect score. And then what ultimately happened is that she shot 2 9s more than Tanya did. So,
and that's it. That's how big the margin of error is. It's a very, very small margin of error. You can drop a couple of points and that's it. You miss out on a medal at the European Championships. But, Tanya Jensen shot brilliantly. She will claim the bronze, but now it's time to decide who is going to get the gold medal. We have a look at the brackets again, and those very close semi-finals. Well, Andrea Marcos won the first one against Tanya Jensen, and it's the world #1 Yesim Boston who came through an incredibly tight semi-final with Sophie Dodemel. So it's Spain versus Turkey, and a chance for another gold medal for Yesim Boston.
She's been on the field before, but as we've seen in the previous match, that doesn't have to mean anything. And Andrea is definitely someone to watch out for on the circuit. She's not super experienced, but she is a very tough competitor.
Well, she's ranked 9th in the world, Andrea Marcos.
Na stanowisku numer 1 reprezentująca Hiszpanię.
And here she is. She'll be shooting on target 1.
Probably one of the happiest women on the field.
Reprezentująca Turcję.
And here she is, the world #1 from Turkey, Yesim Bostan. You have to say, the favourite here.
Yeah, like looking at statistics, I think Yesim Bostan has the overhand here, but
Well, no pressure then on Andrea Marcos. It will be Boston to shoot first, so will she put down a tough marker and upset the apple cart very early on here?
Andrea can pretty much only win this match. If she loses, she lost against the #1 of the world, which was, it's no shame. And if she wins, she won over the #1 of the world. So there's a little bit of extra pressure on Yesim.
Just adjusting the sight there straight away. Just drifted a little bit up and to the left, but not too bad. And that one's to the left, not slightly closer to the X-ring, but still a 9.
9.
Chef, we've seen something for the first time today that we haven't seen before. This little blinker that Andrea Marcos has on her cap.
Yeah, so it might be that she's left eye dominant. And in our sport, you normally pick for the dominant eye to see which handedness you are. But some people prefer to, if you're right-handed, you want to shoot right-handed, so you have to deal with your eye dominance, and this is one way to do that. And it might also just give her a little bit more of a calm view. I shoot with one eye closed, but that's also because my eyes don't stand light very well. So for me, this kind of flat light would be perfect. But there's other people that have problems with a lot of light, and then they still want to open 2 eyes and they have to put something in front of it. So there's multiple reasons to get like a shade in front of your eye.
But it's about perspective, isn't it? It's about having a clear, consistent perspective on what's going on. And for Marcos, clearly having one eye shielded is a way that she can maintain a consistency of perspective.
Also, from a technical standpoint, if you open both eyes, your face is more relaxed. You don't engage as many muscles in your face. And it's easier to have consistent relaxed muscles than consistent tensed muscles. So it's also a thing for consistency.
Well, Boston has got a very slight lead here, but it wasn't bad shooting from Marcos in the first end. Trailing though, she will shoot first in the second end.
Buena, 10. Eso
Good
es.
start.
10, Andrea.
10, Andrea.
Well, we talk about consistency and being able to remain calm here. As beautiful and wonderful as this cathedral is, some pretty noisy and tuneful bells ringing at the moment. How distracting is that going to be?
Sí, eso
I think
es.
it's not very distracting, especially since the noise is easy to cancel out, I think. It just adds a little bit of noise, but it doesn't, it's not a sudden noise, or it's not a very annoying thing. So I don't think it affects the archers that much.
Well, it's the same for both of them as well.
Doesn't affect her at least. She's a perfect 30.
10, Andrea. Jest im Boston. Mamy remis po 58.
That means we have a tight score now of 58-58. That means that Yishin on target number 2 is starting to shoot first in the third end. How did Yishin came into this gold medal match? She was 7 in the qualification rounds. In the 1-8 elimination round, she was too strong for Anastasio. In the quarterfinals for Victoria Valshanova.
Well, perfect score from Andrea Marcos has drawn her level here with the world number 1 Ish in Boston as we go into the third end. With the scores level, it's Boston who will shoot first.
Third end. Yishin starting.
See just how calm she is, but she's dropped that one off into the 8.
She seems really surprised about it,
Jest im 8.
but shakes it off.
Sí, X, eso es.
Andrea.
In a really
10,
good moment,
centralnie.
because now Yesim really has to do her best to get this one in the middle.
10, Yishin.
Jest im 10.
Sí, X, enorme.
Big opportunity has opened up for Andrea Marcos, and she's grabbing it with both hands at the moment.
If you look at her target, she's only had 2 arrows outside of the 10, and they were maximum of 1 centimeter, I think, outside of the 10. So
10, Yishin.
10, jest im.
we'll see it when she shoots.
Sí.
Those 2 on the left are the only ones that she's had outside of the 10.
So she's been shooting it really well here, as you said, Chef, and she's sometimes you just hit all the buttons at the right time, and it's 10-10-10 all the time.
Jest im Boston.
Target judges there just confirming. You see that low 8 from Boston, and I think she's even saying to her coach she's not quite sure what
Cuando
happened
analizas
there.
lo que está pasando.
It might be that her agent will pull out the arrow and then put it upside down in the arrow tube, so that she knows which arrow was the 8, so that she can choose not to shoot that arrow again and pick another one.
How much can the arrow really affect?
Well, if there is a component of the arrow that's slightly broken or damaged, you can imagine if the knock, which is a plastic piece on the arrow,
Yeah.
if that has a crack in it, it might affect the arrow flight, or if the vein is slightly crooked or damaged, it will affect the arrow flight. So if I would be on the shooting line, I would like to have my agent turn that arrow around so I don't have to shoot it, so I don't have to think about that arrow again.
Who's that?
10, Yishin.
10, jest.
Sí, 10, eso es.
Andreas, smooth sailing.
10, Andrea.
Yes.
Boston seems to have found a form, but a slight adjustment to the sight again.
Yeah, she had 2 arrows on the left, and I think last time she had an arrow on the left as well. So. This level of shooting, if you shoot left tens, you want to adjust your sight, because if you make a small mistake, you will be just outside of the 10.
Amazing grouping from Boston, but cracked into the 9,
Yeah.
as you alluded to, Chef, and
Yeah, I might have jinxed it again.
9 in a row for Andrea Marcos. It is another perfect score, and what was a tight lead is now looking pretty strong. And the way she's shooting, she's not giving any points away.
Yeah, I think she's found her groove, and she's just, like I said, she's smooth sailing.
Well, certainly is looking good for Andrea Marcos. There she is. Not much communication with the coach. The coach is giving a few words of encouragement.
I think it has to do a little bit with nerves. If you look at Andrea, normally she's really outgoing and really happy, and now she seems a bit tensed and doesn't talk too much. So see, the coach is checking her arrows to see if there's an arrow that was maybe damaged or.
Well, she's having a good look herself, isn't she? One drifting off into the 8. But she doesn't want to let it play on her mind. That's the key thing here.
So that's why I said, if my agent would be pulling my arrows, I would have liked him or her to put the arrow upside down, so that I knew which one it was, and then I can look at it after the competition, but I would just put it away for this.
Well, number 1 is trailing. She needs to dig deep into her bag of resources here. Good start to this end.
10.
It's the one that's furthest from the middle for her this match. But
Those nerves creeping in at the end for Andrea Marcos. Well, that's all Jessin Boston can do. Keep the pressure on Andrea Marcos.
10 centralnie.
Another 9 and she'll still be okay. It is a 9. Boston wants to put down another 10 here. Certainly finish strongly and keep the pressure on Andrea Marcos.
bit shaky, but it hit the line.
So a 10 required for Andrea Marcos for the European title.
Also a bit shaky.
And she gets a 10, and she is the European champion. She managed to keep it all together throughout. She shot fantastically well. Just started to show signs of nerves at the fifth end with 2 9s, but got a 10 to cross the line. And Andrea Marcos is the European champion.
Look how happy she is. Tears of happiness, tears of joy.
Yeah, the joy and emotion pouring out of the Spanish archer. She has just taken the European title, and I don't think she can believe it. She shot phenomenally well here in Legnica. She's had the week of her life. The consistency all around the 10s. A couple of 9s at the end, but we'll forgive her that. The nerves really must have been right on top of her. But she had to shoot exceptionally well to beat this Turkish athlete, Jessin Boston. And that was the troublesome 8 for Jessin Boston.
The deciding moment in this match. The 8 left a mark mentally as well, because she didn't know why it was there.
And that
Here you go.
The 10 to seal the deal, and for the emotion to pour out. And
It's a beautiful sight.
yeah, going to be interesting to see her on the podium a little bit later on today. And here's confirmation of the results here in the women's compound event. Andrea Marcos is a surprise even to her as the European champion. She beat Jessin Boston of Turkey to that gold medal, and Tanja Jensen of Denmark will be collecting the bronze medal a little bit later on today. So that's the women's individual event sorted. All the medals have now been allocated to their athletes, so it's time for the men's event. And first up, we will have a bronze medal match, and we'll have another visit to the range from Pierre-Julien Deloche. The world number 8 from France takes on the world number 20, but don't let his ranking fool you. Federico Pagnoni, the Italian, is no slouch on the archery range.
Yeah.
The Spanish athlete supported well by her teammates there. And perhaps some family members there as well. Before we get to those men's matches, we are going to have the medal presentation for that women's event, and I think that the delay was well, the emotion of Andrea Marcos. I don't think she could quite pull herself back together quick enough to get out here.
She still seems a bit emotional, but I think that's part of the game, right?
Yeah. She deserves to have her moment in the limelight. We're going to have one heck of an emotional national anthem coming up very soon.
Brązowy medal, reprezentantka Danii.
Bronze medal representing Denmark. Tanja Jensen.
So Tanja Jensen collects the bronze medal here in Legnica. She had a brilliant match against Sophie Dodemont. Held it all together. You were looking at extremes in terms of emotion. Well, there's calmness personified in Tanja Jensen on the bronze medal step of the podium.
Reprezentantka Turcji.
Silver medal representing Turkey. Jessin Boston.
I think Jessin Boston came here for the gold medal. She's had a great season. She's shooting spectacularly well at the moment. So a silver, by her standards at the European Championships, is perhaps somewhat of a failure, but I'm sure when she looks back on her career, she will treasure this silver medal.
I think she's happy with it anyways. I don't think she sees her silver medal as a failure.
Gold medal and European champion representing Spain. Andrea Marcos.
Well, she can't quite believe it herself, but she better, because Andrea Marcos is the European champion. Well, she collects her flowers. Will she be able to hold it together? I suspect not. But now it's time for the national anthem of Spain.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem of Spain.
Well, everyone's standing, everyone's waiting. Spain. She just couldn't contain those emotions, and no real surprise. I don't think she came here expecting to walk away with an individual gold medal, but Andrea Marcos of Spain is confirmed as the 2018 European champion in the women's compound individual. She beat Jessin Boston to the silver, and it was a brave and gutsy performance from Tanja Jensen against Sophie Dodemont that confirmed the Dane with the bronze medal. Well, a few more drips of rain, even though the sky is starting to look slightly more blue. You can see the telltale signs of the rain on the camera lens there. It's mainly held off here in Poland. It was a strong chance of rain today, forecast throughout the week in fact, but it has just about held off in this compound session. And we have two matches left to go. First up, it's the bronze medal match for the men's compound individual. We'll see how the athletes got to this stage. It was a exceptionally tight first semi-final for Anton Bulyev, who the Russian just took out Pierre-Julien Deloche, and similarly close between the two Italians in the bottom half of the draw. Sergio Pagni, who went through 146 to 145, leaving Federico Pagnoni, who is the world number 20, and he will go up against Pierre-Julien Deloche. And Chef, we said before, some experience, especially here on the finals range, can be beneficial.
Yeah, it could, but we have seen matches where there was previous experience, and I think all of them lost. So, theoretically, it would be an advantage, but for some reason it isn't today.
Strange, isn't it? Because we talked about this earlier on. It's very unusual for these athletes because when they're warming up a bus ride away.
Yeah.
Whereas normally they'll be warming up on a range that's right next door to the finals.
Exactly, yeah. But there's no space for that since we're in a little lovely town in Poland. So.
Well, everyone has now been presented to the crowd. Fist bumps between the two archers. Pleasantries over. Let the battle commence. So it's Pagnoni who will shoot first here in Legnica for the individual compound men's bronze medal.
Quick shot.
È appena sotto, sfiora la riga del 10 ore 6.
I think that might have a chance to still touch, but I'm not sure.
Marked up as a 9 to start with. If it's touching the line, it could be upgraded to a 10.
That one is just out. Confident in calling that.
9, Pierre-Julien.
9, Pierre-Julien.
Sì, a croce.
8, 10. Federico.
10, Federico.
10.
Also
Allez,
just
Peggy.
slow.
9, Pierre Julien.
I wonder if he's going to adjust
De
the
los,
sight.
9.
Sì, 10 pieno, appena sotto la X. Grande te.
10, Federico.
10, Pagnoni.
10. Ouais, voilà.
10, Pierre Julien.
10,
C'était un petit réglage viseur.
Well, first blood to Pagnoni, only by 1. But saying that, Sheffield, the accuracy in this sport at the top end is so good, it's so consistent that actually 1 point can be a massive gap.
Yeah, it could be. But 1 point is always... you can still overcome 1 point because it's possible that somebody will miss. But the closer you get towards the end of the match, you don't want to be 2 points behind, for instance, because the chances of somebody missing the 10 ring twice in a row is really slim.
And that's the fascinating part of this, because you talk about tactics. You can't have them, you just got to hit the centres time and time again. You can't take a risk, for example.
No. Especially when it's wind still, there's no tactics whatsoever. If there's a little wind, you can at least speak about tactics in a way that you can wait for a wind gust to go away, or that you can pick the right moment to shoot. But now there's no wind, then there's no tactics. You just have to bring your A game.
Yeah, a little weather caption that comes up. Actually, I think it was saying somewhere around about 4.6 meters per second wind, but I'm not sure where that wind vane is, because there's absolutely no wind here at all.
No, you can see the flags moving slightly, but that's might as well be someone breathing against it.
X, croce.
A great shot from an Italian.
Centralne 10, Pagnoni.
10. Parfait.
10, Pierre Julien.
10, Pierre-Julien Delos.
Sì, l'altra X, grande.
There's a slight difference in styles where Deloche is hanging a bit into the shot, and he looks really relaxed when he's in full draw.
10.
It's just out.
9,
Well, it's just in sight, everything drifting off to the left ever so slightly.
But then Pagnoni, he looks really tensed.
Sì,
As if he uses all of his muscles to get them in the X-ray. But it's
Goduria pura.
It's working very well. A perfect score for Federico Pagnoni.
This is an announcement for the archers from the Kuota tournament. Right after the medal ceremony for the
Having a long conversation with his coach there. Less words between Pierre-Julien Deloche and his coach.
Pierre-Julien's coach is actually his former teammate, because they used to shoot together.
Well, certainly bags of experience between the two.
Yeah,
There you
I'm
get
sure
it.
they know what to say against each other at any given moment.
Get a good view of Pagnoni's bow there. You could see, you were saying earlier on, Chef, that the wheels, the cogs,
The cabs.
not spherical, they're not round, they're
Yeah.
actually slightly
Yeah.
slightly oblong, not oblong, oval.
Yeah, so that if you draw it back, there is a certain draw curve that makes it lighter to hold when you're full drawn.
We'll draw in first here is the trailing athlete from France, Pierre-Julien Deloche.
Drawing twice, actually, because his arrow fell off his wrist.
Ok.
Doesn't bother him.
Pierre Julien.
10, Delos.
Grande Fede.
He just keeps,
Appena fuori dalla X, ore
keeps
8.
forcing them in the middle.
10, Pagnoni.
10. 9 droite, milieu de zone.
He's not looking happy, is
9
he?
de loge.
Starting to show some emotion.
Sì, 10.
But Federico Pagnoni's dropped
Incredible.
1 point,
Yeah.
and it was the very first arrow that went into the 9.
That's probably less than a mil between the line and his arrow. His group is incredible. I'd say give it maybe 1 or 2 ticks down his sight, and then he would be absolutely centered.
Sì, tocca, grande.
Another perfect score for the Italian.
The thing is, all of the archers that are shooting in these final matches can potentially do this, can do what Pagnoni is doing, because they're all this good. The thing is to do it on a moment like this, where a medal is at stake. That's really impressive. And to keep it together at a moment like this, that's what it's about.
And it is phenomenal to see. Look, obviously, you've got to shoot well consistently, and you've got to shoot well all week. I think a lot of people, you know, when they're tuning in to watch this, they just think, oh, they just go out there and shoot 15 arrows and that's it, you're done and dusted. But they're here all week, qualifying, going through the ranking round first, and then going up against head-to-heads throughout the tournament.
Yeah, BJ shot 6 matches before this one to get here. And Federico shot 5 because he had a slightly better ranking.
Yeah, got to buy through the first round. So Tolosh still trailing, so will still shoot first, and he needs to start trying to close this gap up.
10.
And 2 things need to happen for him to do that. He needs to start shooting better, and don't get me wrong, I wish I could shoot 9s regularly like he is, but he needs to shoot better, and he needs this man to start dropping points, and he's showing no sign of that at the moment.
There's no remorse.
10. Ouais, 10 gauche.
10 de loge.
X
Just
ore
remarkable.
8 sulla resa.
10 centralnie, Pagnoni.
Ok, X.
De loge, 10 centralnie.
Pagnoni make it 3 perfect scores in a row.
Dovrebbe toccare stavolta.
Yeah, that's definitely in.
And there you go.
He's a bit, he wasn't happy about the last shot, but it's still in.
Well, 11 10s in a row is quite remarkable shooting, and despite Pierre-Julien Deloche shooting 29 out of 30, which is a great score, he's dropped another point. Pagnoni is flying through this match.
Sure is, yeah. And he seems like he almost expected to go onto the field and just grab the bronze and go away again. He's really confident. Also, the way he shoots, he just pulls back his bow and casually shoots a 10 and then goes on to the next one. He doesn't waste too much time thinking about it.
No, he's looking very relaxed indeed, and he's definitely got one hand on that bronze medal.
All he needs to do at this point is just shoot 3 golds, and it's good.
It's all done. It's all done and dusted. And it doesn't matter what Pierre-Julien Deloche does.
But I'm sure he wants to maintain his good grouping.
Well, all he can do is put the pressure on Pagnoni.
Yeah, but he's a bit unlucky with his laggards as well.
X.
Well,
9 możliwe 10.
if I was Pagnoni, I'd be asking for that target at the end of this match.
Yeah, I'm sure his agent will bring it for him because this is amazing grouping.
Parfait.
Pierre-Julien, 10
So casual.
centralnie.
Slightly longer hold. It's a bit low, but still.
Still a 10. This is some stunning shooting we're seeing from the Italian. Well, a 144 is not a bad score, but Pagnoni, well, he's been super special here. And there you go, another one to finish it off, and that's 4 perfect 10s and a 29 in the first end, and he has waltzed away with the bronze medal here in the men's individual compound event. Have you ever seen shooting that consistent in a medal match?
I have, but not from him.
It's just incredible that he was able to hit. The first one was a 9, and then 10s right the way throughout.
In all fairness, the first one was a 9.999. I mean, it was so close to the line that I was almost calling it a 10, but yeah, he just kept on. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, you look at that. At that stage, the target was well, pretty unremarkable. It's when we get into the 4th and 5th ends when you see all the holes from the previous arrows inside that 10 ring, apart from one. Just kept nailing it. Remember, 50 meters away, and he's not hitting something the size of an apple. He's hitting something the size of a golf ball.
Yeah, I think
consistently.
His group, all of the arrows of his group fit in a circle of 7 centimeters from 50 meters. So that's ridiculous.
Yeah, incredible stuff. Federico Pagnoni will be on the podium a little bit later on today. And guess what, Chef? The umbrellas are back out. And as you can see on our lens, the rain has started to fall a little bit and hasn't quite held off for our last match of the compound session here in Legnica, and that will be the gold medal match between Anton Bulyev of Russia and Pagnoni's teammate Sergio Pagni.
The Sultan of Smooth.
And a reminder of the brackets and how the athletes go here. Both exceptionally tight semi-finals. 146 plays 145 and a 145 playing 144 for these two athletes to get to this stage and contend the 2018 gold medal. We've got the world number 16 in Bulyev up against the world number 14 in Pagni, but they came through the ranking rounds ranked 4th and 3rd respectively, so they've been shooting really well here throughout. And here they come. Well, no strangers to podium matches. Anton Bulyev of Russia, we've seen him.
He seems excited.
Well, we've seen him on top of the podium this season. And he goes up against Sergio Pagni. Now, often we see if an athlete from a certain country gets a medal or performs really well, it can drive on their teammates.
Yeah, it might be that he's inspired now by his almost the same named teammate. So, if he can just keep his calm like he normally does, I think he can make this a really good match against another great archer, Anton Bulyev.
Well, you can see a few drops of rain on the camera lens there. The overhead camera gives us a great view of the athletes.
What's funny is that Sergio Pagni is left-handed, so he'll look directly at his opponent. And I'm sure he's used to it, but it might affect Anton a bit.
Appena fuori dalla X ore 3.
10, Sergio Pagni.
It's a bit of an unconventional technique that he practices, where he uses a wrist release, which is already unconventional to say the least at the international circuit. And then he anchors really high. Sergio uses a wrist release, but it's a kind of wrist release where you release a button instead of press a button, and it's really personal for him. He really likes it. But most archers anchor on their jaw, whereas Anton anchors on his cheek more. So it's a lot higher and it looks a bit odd, but it works really well for him. Starts off with a perfect score. So you can see how his hand is almost up to his eye, so as high as it is.
Just dropping a point there, the Russian. So high scores again in this gold medal match. Only 1 point drop between the two archers. Consistency key to the game, as we've said time and time again. Well, this is a good example of why. You drop 1 point, you go into trail your opponent.
Yeah, can be that close.
And we often see that the bows of the archers are tailored to specific styles, but what's remarkable about Anton Buliev's bow is that it's completely unremarkable.
Yeah.
It's just a black bow.
It is. It has some red accents, and I think what's remarkable about his bow, but I'm not completely sure, I think it's a hunting model. So it's originally sold as a hunting bow, but he made it into his target setup.
A good shot of the cogs there as Buliev draws to start the second end and hits the spider.
I'm now in doubt, by the way, about the hunting part, so don't shoot me if I'm wrong.
10.
Just a tiny little bit of movement there.
Yeah, just like that, it's all tied up again. So.
Well, whilst we work in 5 ends of 3 arrows per archer, it is an accumulative score in compound archery, so you can fight back from the trailing position.
He's not very happy with that shot, but he managed to make it work. Also remarkable about Anton's bow is that he has an amazing stack of weight on his side stabilizer. I don't know if we're going to see that in this end still, but you can see how there's probably a kilo of weight on his side rod. The reason you would want to do that is, well, basically it's just inertia. If you have a lot of weight on your bow, it won't move as fast, so you can control the movement a little better. The thing is, it's difficult for your shoulder to hold up all the weight and still have control. So for a lot of archers, you try to find a sweet spot.
But is it unusual to have so much weight on, as you called it, the sidebar? Does it not mean that you're leaning one way?
It could mean that your bow is urged to lean a bit to the left, or in his case to the left because his side rod is on the left. But that can also be preference, because it's often easier to hold a bow steady and straight when you have to hold it there than when it holds itself there and it's just wiggling. So some people prefer a perfectly balanced bow, so if they hold it, it keeps perfectly level. And other people want to have a little more weight, so they have to force it into being level so they can have it there by force.
And that's why each bow is effectively an extension of the body or the arm of the archers, and very much tailored to each archer's preferences. Buliev trailing by the single point still. Shoot first in this third end.
10. Buliaev.
There's a little skull on the stabilizer of Sergio Pagni. I wonder if
10.
that's to intimidate his opponent.
He's just drifted out into the 8 there.
Yeah, it's not very intimidating.
Yeah, it's marked as a 9.
Yeah, I think it just got the line.
Окей. Икс хороший.
10. Anton Buliaev.
Sì, Sergio, X.
10x. Sergio Pagni.
Good recovery.
Sergio Pagni, 10 centralny.
That's it. Didn't get to his head.
Окей.
10-10, Anton Buliaev.
10. Buliaev.
Sì, Sergio, grande. Lì l'ha presa stavolta, l'ha presa.
10, Sergio Pagni.
10. Sergio Pagni.
allungata, ma-
Tym samym, proszę Państwa, mamy
Sergio
remis po
just came back from
80
India, I think, where he coached the Indian compound team ahead of the Asian Games to see if he could bring them some extra knowledge.
And it worked, didn't it?
I think they got 2 silvers.
A couple of silver medals in Jakarta. Competition's still actually going on at the Asian Games, but I think the archery's all done and dusted.
Yeah.
Well, we're level here in Legnica for these European Championships. Gold medal here, but you can see that even the coach is having to dry the scope because of the rainfall.
Maybe he can wipe the camera lens as well while he's at it.
Well, range is clear. You can see that the official has also put his rain jacket on. It's not raining too heavily, so it shouldn't be too distracting.
No, I think it's just annoying, that's all. I don't think there's many archers that prefer to shoot in rain.
10.
We start the
Sì,
fourth
10
end.
ore 2.
10, Sergio Pagni.
Pagni,
Scores
10.
level. Pagni shoots first.
Окей. Икс.
Both archers only have 1 arrow that's really far outside of the 10.
10
Pagni
centralny.
being one that had more red on it than yellow.
Appena fuori a ore
It's just
8.
out.
9,
Vilayev had a high 9 that was also close to the 8, but not quite. For the rest, they're still pretty close to the 10, so the group is not terrible.
Just drifting out and up to the left.
9. Buliaev.
He could have capitalized on the 9 that Sergio shot, but that maybe got to him.
Well, he's got another chance now.
9, Sergio Pagni.
A maximum
9.
10
Sergio
will
Pagni.
put Buliaev into the lead going into the last end. But he also, well, no, he does get the 10, so he has gone into the lead. He missed the first opportunity, took the second, and he's taken the lead at a crucial time.
Tables have turned.
Pressure is right on now.
Посмотри стрелку.
But like I said before, trailing with 1 point before the last end is not always terrible, because you can put the pressure on and you can sometimes overcome your opponent.
Yeah, you shoot first, and you get that opportunity to put the pressure on.
Yeah. So especially in a team match where you have 6 arrows to make up 1 point, but also in an individual match where you get 3 arrows for 1 point, you just have to make sure that you shoot really well.
Yeah.
I think the British team was showing off their medals in the background just now.
Well, they're allowed to. They did get the gold medal a little bit earlier on in the men's team event.
Interestingly, Anton just checked his arrows and there was a damaged vein, and he still put them back in his competition slot. So I think he's going to shoot with the damaged vein anyways.
Well, it's worked out for him so far.
Yeah.
So this is it for the compound session. 3 arrows left in the men's gold medal match.
You can see the British people in the background pointing at their medals.
10.
Drifting off to the right. A little shake of the head.
Yeah, he knew that he needed to put some pressure on.
Sometimes having the lead can have pressure of its own. Not for Anton Buliev.
Buliajew, 10, centralnie. Pani, 10.
So Anton will not only have to miss the 10 ring, but he has to miss it twice or miss it big if Sergio still wants a shot at the gold medal.
Yes!
And no chance of that. Buliev has put all the pressure on Sergio Pangi. All he can do is try and score another 10.
And he does get the 10, but what are the odds that Anton is going to miss the whole gold?
Miss the 9, yeah, it's not likely. This for the gold medal at the European Championships. Oh, and it's absolutely superb from Anton Buliev. He shot absolutely spectacularly, only dropping 3 points throughout the whole of the gold medal match. And Anton Buliev takes home the European title for Russia. Well, you can't say that Sergio Pangi shot badly. He got a 145 out of a potential 150. That's not a bad score.
It isn't, but in this field, I think you need more than a 145 to win.
Well, an interesting shot there, looking down the range. And distracted potentially by the big screen, but not this man.
Sergio, being left-handed, was looking the other way, so I don't think the screen affected him any.
So an unorthodox approach to his archery, but if you can shoot like that time and time again, then the medals are going to come your way thick and fast. Sergio Pangi will be happy with a silver medal, although it's bittersweet, isn't it, because you get to the gold medal match and of course you want to take that chance and take a European title, but he was up against this amazing Russian and he shot superbly well. Spasiba, Anton Buliev. So confirmation of the results here. The Russian was spectacular, taking the European title back home. Anton Buliev beat Sergio Pangi of Italy, and it was Federica Pagnoni who took the bronze, beating Pierre-Julien Deloche in the playoff match. And very, very shortly we will have a medal ceremony for those men. And there is our podium. You can see the umbrellas are out, even with the officials. But that's it for our compound session here in Legnica. But good news, everyone. It's afternoon of recurve archery coming up, and almost exactly the same format for the competition. Will start here at 2:30 local time. And we're going to have the Italians out going for 3 team gold medals.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. That's incredible recurve archery from the Italian teams. But first up, we will have the medal ceremony for the men's individual compound archery here at the European Archery Championships in this fantastic city of Legnica. And let me tell you, if you've never been to this part of Poland, it's stunning. It's a hidden treasure. And the World Archery Federation have put on this spectacular event right in the heart of this fairy tale city. Well, that's a nifty use of the Russian flag there.
Yeah, that's probably the coolest rain jacket I've seen today.
The rain just dripping very, very slightly, but it has managed to hold off here on a day that, well, threatened big rain showers. time for the compound archers to pack up their bows and head home. Of course, some of the archers here will be heading to Cortina, and in fact the officials as well will be heading to Cortina, where the Field Archery World Championships will be taking place next week, I think.
Yeah, that should be exciting as well. I hope it doesn't rain as much as today, but I cannot promise the archers anything.
Panie i panowie, za chwilę ostatnia w tej pierwszej części Mistrzostw Europy w Legnicy, ceremonia dekoracji. Widzieliśmy fantastyczną walkę o brązowy medal i o złoty medal w łukach bloczkowych mężczyzn. Także czekamy jeszcze, jeśli tylko będzie to możliwe, za chwilę.
Moving from Legnica to Cortina, the world of archery does take place in some fantastic locations around the globe. I've got to say though, this is the coldest archery event I've ever been to.
Well, you haven't been in archery very long.
How much does that affect certainly your drawing hand when it's so cold outside?
Yeah, you have to make sure that you keep your hands warm and I would say supple. And if it gets really cold, your hands get stiff and it gets painful to release, especially with recurve archery. And you have to imagine compound bows normally don't have a wooden grip that my bow has, for instance. So they just grab the bare aluminum, which is obviously very cold if it's not warm out. And then their release is normally made out of brass, which is also cold. So yeah, that doesn't help your coordination at all. So you want to make sure that you get the temperature of your material that you want.
Yeah, well, it certainly hasn't affected the archers here too much. We've seen some unbelievable scoring, in particular, I have to say, from Federico Pagnoni, who picked up the bronze medal here in the individual. He shot an exceptional bronze medal match.
Ladies and gentlemen, the victory ceremony for the compound.
So now it's time to present those
Panie i
medals.
panowie, ceremonia dekoracji w konkurencji łuków bloczkowych mężczyzn.
Medals will be presented by the mayor of the city of Legnica.
Medale wręczać będzie prezydent miasta
Well, we've said what a
Legnicy,
beautiful
pan
city
Tadeusz
this is,
Krzakowski.
and there is the city's mayor who will be presenting the medals here for the individual men's compound archers.
Kwiaty wręczać będzie zastępca prezydenta miasta Legnicy, pan Krzysztof Duszkiewicz. Medal brązowy, reprezentant Włoch.
Bronze medal representing Italy. Federico Pagnoni.
Medal srebrny, reprezentant Włoch.
Silver medal representing Italy. Sergio Pagnoni.
Well, there he is, Sergio Pagni, collecting the silver medal with his teammate in the bronze medal position. So 2 Italian medals in the last compound event.
Europy dla reprezentanta Rosji.
Gold medal, European champion, representing Russian Federation, Anthem.
But Anton Bullier shot so well in that gold medal match. He is the deserving European champion of 2018. Unorthodox technique. But boy, it worked here today.
Panie i panowie, proszę o powstanie do hymnu narodowego Rosji.
So now it's time for the national anthem of the Russian Federation. It's been an absolutely brilliant session of compound archery with bags of medals presented here in Legnica. But that's the end of our compound action here, and confirmation that Anton Buriev picked up the European title, beating Sergio Pagni in that men's individual final, with Federico Pagnoni picking up the bronze. It was a good finishing discipline for the Italians, and they'll be back this afternoon when we switch over to the Olympic discipline of recurve archery. Italy will be contending for all three of the team gold medals a little bit later on today. But here we've seen Turkey take the women's individual, Great Britain take the men's individual, France taking the compound mixed team event, and the gold medal matches for both the men's and the women's individual were absolutely spectacular. We'll be back in about an hour for Compound Afternoon.